Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, and welcome to all of you glorious brewery-based people who are joining me now, or indeed welcoming my dulcet tones into your eardrums later on as you drive the van delivering your wares wherever you may be across the world. This is Branding for Breweries. It is the show that brings together the brightest minds in the brewing world to help your brewery to thrive and survive and grow and do everything that you can to be an epic, monumental brewery that lasts the test of time. I kind of got carried away there, but you get the idea. It's going to help you be really cool. My name is Tim. I am the brand weaver, and I bring to you pleasure, enjoyment, and all things wonderful today, because today I am joined by Mr. Ben Gibbs. He is known as, well, what is he? He's a host of a podcast. He's a content creator, be it influencer, if you will. Is ultimately goes by the name of Sober Boozers Club if you find him online. And today we're going to be delving into the mindset of someone who does not drink your standard beers and votes for the lows and no's, because we really want to get into that mindset and think, well, what are people thinking about? Why are they making these choices? And why is the world changing in this way? So without further ado, let's welcome Mr. Ben to the stage. Mr. Ben.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good, mate. How are you today, sir? Are you well?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. It's been a bad start to the day. I'm not going to lie. I had a phone call with someone at 10:30 that I forgot to put in my calendar. And so I just didn't call them. I was dusting instead. So now I'm going to do that after this. But yeah, that wasn't the best start to the day. But
Well, you
other than
made
that,
this
very good.
chat.
I did make this chat.
I appreciate that.
I think it's because of this chat that I forgot the first one, because I had this so ingrained in my brain that this was happening that phone call kind of was like, oh no, that doesn't exist.
There's only space for one meeting in anyone's mind, and when it's as big as the Branding for Breweries podcast chat, everything else gets pushed out of the ears.
Exactly.
It just sounds so incredibly egotistical on my part, but I'm going to run with it.
Yeah, you got to just take it and run.
Ben, my man, thank you for joining us today. Let's get stuck in. And I think just before we start picking into the mindset of the non-drinker, could you give us a little bit of background about yourself and what it is that you do for the brewery world?
Yeah, so I basically just talk about alcohol-free beer on the internet to anyone that will listen. For someone that doesn't drink alcohol, used to drink a lot of alcohol but don't drink any alcohol anymore. I got into alcohol-free beer, started talking about it and shouting about it, and I've been lucky enough to work with a lot of breweries, a lot of different brands on their kind of process and R&D and things like that, and just share all of the wonderful things that I've found with a growing community of people.
Wonderful. And it is, if you go and check out your Instagram channel, it's like every other day we're seeing another low-no alcohol-free beer pop up, and you're giving such a rounded review to it, which is phenomenal. What is it? There is this clear shift that's happening, right? Why do you think that is?
I think there's a lot of reasons. I think the quality of the liquid that exists now is massive. Like I think people have always wanted another option, but it just hasn't been very good. I mean, if anybody thinks back to their first alcohol-free beer, the chances are it was terrible. I know mine was. I think mine was a Beck's Blue in like 2012, and I seem to remember, and I might have this wrong, but I'm sure it was in like a plasticky bottle. I'm sure I remember those bottles, and it was terrible. So I thought, right, I'm not going to touch this again, ever, until fast forward to 2022 when alcoholism hit, and it's like, I wonder if these are a thing to go for. I wonder if this is something I could try. And it was like, oh, this is really good, and that was in 2022. We're 2025 now. The quality of the liquid is just wonderful. And you've got brands like Guinness that have released a really strong alcohol-free option, and people trust Guinness. They're willing to try Guinness. So once you try it and you go, oh, this is really good, that's your whole mindset changes. So I think there's that. I think there's the fact that people have always wanted an option, but it just exists now. That really helps. I also think that if we're talking about people's relationship with alcohol, I think lockdown was a really big moment for a lot of people. I think kind of a lot of people's relationship with alcohol developed during COVID, often in a negative way. And some people, the world opened up again and they were just able to go back to normal habits. For others, it was a bit more challenging. So these alcohol-free options, even for people that still do drink a little alcohol, they're just they just allow you to enjoy like social events or any occasion a little bit more.
Mm. And it is weird that well, it's not weird, but it makes a lot of sense that you draw that comparison with COVID, because I was talking to another content creator about the boom of beer-based content creation over the COVID period, where everyone's
Yeah.
like, I'm trying this one and I'm trying this one. You're like, oh, dude, you're trying a lot. Awesome. We can see why your following's going up. But of course, there is the negative side of that you talk to, that in some cases a little becomes a little bit too much ultimately.
Yeah, I feel like we're kind of in the hangover of that now. I mean, like there's a lot of research out there about people's like home drinking and dangerous drinking levels during COVID, and obviously that's a real blanket kind of statement to throw down. But I feel like I drank every day in COVID, and that was the start of my kind of descent into full blown alcoholism, if you like. And I loved it. I mean, booze is great, don't get me wrong. I'm not here to say that alcohol is the devil, because it's not. It's a wonderful thing. It's just not everybody can handle it. But I think, 3 years after kind of we exited COVID, or until things started to feel normal again, I think we're starting to see people kind of reach a point in that journey that may have began during COVID, where they go, "Oh, okay, we need to address this a little bit."
Mhm.
Enter alcohol-free beer.
And do you think that it's also that the well-being aspect? I think I look around and I feel that there is a bigger focus on well-being and balance that you see in life. And so, is it just an evolution of this is how people are operating, and this is their mindset these days, and it's come together all in this perfectly balanced time for it?
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of like amongst younger generations and things, it's all like zebra striping or zipping or like cutting between alcohol beer, non-alcohol beer, or just flat out not drinking at all because of, the mental health benefits or physical health benefits. I think that is a big thing that is happening. Um, I don't know many young, trendy people. I know one, and she's my cousin, and she doesn't drink. So based on my limited pool of resources, 100% of young people don't drink. So, I mean, don't take that as a stat, please, because that would be
That's the
just so
strongest stat.
that would be so wrong. 100% of young people do not drink. No, I can't put my name to that. I'll be called out instantly. But
Yeah.
it definitely is. There is a shift happening. Like
Mm.
it's undeniable that there is a shift, and people are being more aware of what they put into their bodies and what that does. And alcohol seems quite high on the list of something that we can maybe cut back on a little bit.
And where do you think that balances out with now the emerging need for more experiential kind of moments? So I was talking to Neil from SIBA last week, and he's saying like the awareness of their independent beer, campaign is really quite high in the Gen Z younger age market. But it's more because they associate it with, like, if it's an independent brewery or something, it's more than just beer going on. There's an event, there's something great that's happening. What do you think is that parallel that you can draw from exciting stuff going on at the brewery, moderation? Do breweries need to tick all these boxes to create something which is really welcoming now?
Yeah, I feel like it's just being part of a little tribe almost, or that was like the biggest thing for me. It's like, okay, there's all of this stuff going on that I can now partake in as well. So it's just the inclusion of things. Like, I think it's full on like alcohol-free events and full on alcohol-free experiences are they either do really well or they fail.
Mhm.
Because we are still, although it's growing year on year, we are still in fairly new waters. Like it's a pretty new thing, really. So I think it's more for me like that this stuff is going on, but this stuff is here as well, like
Mhm.
alcohol-free stuff. Like I felt like with BRX, for example, it was like for me, where is the non-alc stuff? You know, like, it was a fantastic event, but it's like, we start doing keg at 4 o'clock. It's like, okay, well, why isn't there a separate little area there where it's like alcohol-free stuff? And I'm thinking maybe we'll get that next year or the year after, because I have to remind myself that I'm like a year ahead of a lot of people because it's all that I talk about.
Yeah.
So whereas everyone else is kind of catching up a little bit, which is fine. The options there were still incredible. It just, you had to really look for them. It wasn't
Mm.
like, here it is.
Well, I think it's an interesting one because you take Beer X, which is very much beer community event. So that is one of the most insular events that you're going to get around the beer community. But I think back to attending the likes of like Download Festival last year, and there was an alcohol-free beer tent there. So from a wider community side of things, your bigger public facing events maybe are a little bit more ahead.
Mhm.
So if you were to talk to like brewery owners and the smaller kind of brewing community, where do you think the biggest misconceptions are about the low-no beer market, and why some of them, not a lot of them, not a huge amount these days, but some of them are just going, "Oh, it's not for me, it's not worth it, it's a small percentage, why bother my time?"
So the first one that I come across every time is that a 0.5% beer still has alcohol in it, and it's because for the 0.5% ABV. That's like the biggest like public misconception out there, in my opinion, because so 0.5% ABV, it's like, yep, okay, there is a little bit of alcohol in there, but a really ripe banana can be 0.6%. An orange juice can be up to 1%, breads can be 1%. So it's like, it can't physically get you intoxicated. Like, it's scientifically impossible because your body will metabolize that quicker than it takes for it to affect your brain. So like, that's number one for me, and I think that's like an education thing that just needs to be put across to people, because
Mm.
people are kind of trying to find ways to unpick this thing because it's change, it's new. People don't react well to new things often. I think another one is that it's only for people that can't drink alcohol, because that it's just not the case. Like, I've been on enough nights with my friends, and they've kind of switched to alcohol free at a certain point of the evening and then gone back to full alc beer. Like, it's for so many different people. It's for people that might be on antibiotics. It's for people that are pregnant. It's for people that are designated drivers, or it's just for people that just want something other than alcohol for that particular moment. It could be for whatever reason. They might be having a particularly difficult time at work and not really want the alcohol at the moment. So
Mm.
that's another thing. It's like, actually, this is, although it's brilliant for people that can't drink or don't drink, it's also just a valid option for people that might not want to drink at that given moment. So that's a really big one for me. Another one is taste. Um, it all tastes bad. That's nonsense. Like, I'm not even going to give that any more than that because
Tick that one off.
some of it does taste awful. Don't get me wrong. Some of it really does taste awful, but like, no, you're wrong.
Mm.
And another one is that it's a fad because it's not just a passing trend. Like, you look at the year-on-year growth of it, and now we have it, and now we're used to it. Like, this, it's not going away. It
Mm.
won't continue to grow at the rate it's growing forever, because if it did, then in 10 years it would be, there'd be no alcohol left, quite frankly, if it kept growing at this rate. And it won't do that, nor should it do that. There is a level that it's going to reach and then plateau. Um, but it's certainly still growing, and it's certainly not going anywhere. So those are kind of the main ones. There's another one about price. A lot of people don't want to pay for an alcohol-free craft beer and don't want to spend the same as they would on a full alc
Mhm.
beer, and it's a difficult one for me to kind of comprehend, because it's, when I was buying a craft beer, I was buying the experience of enjoying that beer. When I'm buying an alcohol-free beer, I'm paying for the experience of that beer. It's like, what value do you put on ethanol, which is a naturally occurring byproduct of a brew, if you like. Like, this stuff is brewed in the exact same way. often using more expensive ingredients if you're talking about certain specific yeasts. It's a lot harder to kind of stabilize and to maintain. So, what value are you putting on this one little byproduct that comes out of a brew? Like,
Mm,
that's my kind of thing. Like, yeah, there's a bit of tax for you get away without alcohol, but other than that, I'm drinking beer for the experience and for the flavor of the beer, like not just to get messed up.
mm,
I mean, I used to drink it to get messed up, and I had a darn good time, I'll tell you that. But now I want the flavor, So yeah, the price thing I don't quite understand, but I'm sure that there are people that drink full alc beers that will be able to kind of counter that argument and make me go, oh, okay, yeah, I kind of see where you're coming from. So that's one that I don't really touch too often, but
mm.
yeah, those would be the main ones to list but a few.
And I'm trying to think from like the perspective of like a brewery that's got a tap room or something like that. Then naturally they're going to be pouring their beer, but they're going to have your wines and your spirits and things like that. So it's just an extension of that, I suppose. If they can't brew their own, it seems logical that they're stocking it much like they do stock the variety of other beverages on offer, right?
Yeah, sure. Like exactly that. Exactly.
And so some breweries I've spoken to, they say there's a difficulty in brewing their own, or they need to contract brew something like that. Are there merits to what do you think has the stronger proposition? A brewery that has a low no beer as part of their range, or a brewery that solely focuses on low no creation?
I mean, I feel like the low no creation thing and just doing that, like you just need to look at Mash Gang.
Mm,
Um, if you do it really well, then there's a seat at the table for you. I worry that the ship has now passed on Nolo exclusive breweries. Um, like there's been a few pop up recently, and it's like, okay, are you a bit late to the party here? I don't know, but it's a worry
mm.
because there are so many out there now that have been doing it for so long and have refined their processes so much. Um, but there is a lot of information out there now, primarily because of Jord from Bashgang, who just, I think he went to pretty much every brewery in the country and just told them how to do it. Like, it was ridiculous. At one point, you couldn't pick up a can of alcohol-free beer and not see the name Mashgang on the back of it.
Mhm.
Um, so I think there's definitely credibility to having just a non-alc beer in your range, and I feel like that's going to be the way that it's going to go, rather than non-alc breweries from kind of start to finish. Now, I think that the boat has kind of left in that department.
I like the way that you brought Mashgang in because big fan of their work. And I always ponder, like in another dimension, like if Mashgang were a brewery, but it wasn't low no, like would it still have had the impact? Would it still be as big? Because to me, when I think of like a brand who's nailed more than just a drink, but like a proper experience, those guys have got it in spades. Like just from the artworking, the events that they put on, the content that they create, they've got the full offering. And so this
Yeah.
leads me to my next question. You're a brewery, you've created your Lono offering, but that's just one part of the puzzle, right? What else do they really need to be doing to win over the new audience or the evolving audience?
So I think the worst thing you can do is like blue label it. Like go to a supermarket, look at the low no section, and like the thing that I hate the most is like same great taste, but none of the alcohol. And it's like, well, all right, what you're already defending this for me. Do you know what I mean? You're already saying like, oh, honest, it's good, it's good, and it's like, no, just have confidence in it. Have confidence in it, and don't be like alcohol free or don't call it like something AF because like that's been done now. All of that's been done, and it kind of it makes sense if it's your first kind of venture into it and you haven't really looked into what the rest of the market is doing, because kind of why would why would a brewery do that? Because we make real beer, if you like, and that's always going to be the bread and butter of a lot of breweries kind of business. Um but what Mashgang did really well was at no point would you have known that what they were doing was alcohol free.
Mm,
unless you read on the back like alcohol free, or at the top of the camera it says alcohol free. Like they were just so behind their beer, and it wasn't like, oh, here's for sober people, here's for people cutting back, here's for people that are going to miss out but have the next best thing. It was just like, no, here's a freaking beer, you know.
Mm.
And I think that's what they did really well, and that's what breweries need to be doing, in my opinion, is just have the confidence in the liquid as a standalone thing, not as a kind of, I'll make do with this.
It's really interesting that you mentioned like don't blue label it as a term, because I've been having that conversation where you see the trend that an alcohol free, it's got blue.
Yeah, why is it all blue? It doesn't make sense.
Maybe from your perspective, but the way I'm looking at it from like a positioning side of things, because you've got this, you're a niche within a niche, I suppose, and where you focus. But from a broader consumer, if you're going, oh, I should try, I want the confidence to know that this is a low or no, I can see the merit of there being blue. And almost the reverse, where does someone feel cheated, or there might be a mindset of some people going, oh, this is a lovely beer, and then almost cheated that it is low or no if it's not clearly spelled out for them. And this is me playing devil's advocate. It's not my mindset, but I'm trying to go, why has the blue color been successful? Why do they have to overtly really promote that it is, you know, of that ilk?
Yeah, I just feel like when you do that, and it's like, oh, here's a blue label, here's like the safe label, here's the clean thing. It's kind of, it just separates the two things more and more. And what I'd like to see is it almost becomes like a German drinking culture, where it's like beer is beer, and alcohol-free beer is just like a table beer. It's just like a session beer. It's just like a full like dipper, you know, where it's all beer and it's all on the same spectrum. And I mean, maybe blue does come into it, but it just seems like every single supermarket that you go into, you get to the alcohol-free section, it's like everything is blue here. It's all just the same. How am I going to make a decision if I don't know what any of this is? It all looks the same. It all feels the same. It's already the same thing in my mind. Like every single one. There's no individuality out there. And then you see Mash Gang. It's like snakes, skulls, motorbikes, and you go, "Yeah, I'm having that." Like immediately, I'm having that.
Do you think so? I'm thinking more like a supermarket environment where you have your alcohol-free section, or if you do go to certain places, they have the alcohol-free part of the menu. Do you see the evolution of it and it being more kind of just worked into everything else that's found on the shelf then, and it's just another part of the menu and not, it doesn't have this separate home?
I feel like we need kind of more like supermarket and hospitality options for that to be a reality. So you'd have like your Guinness and then your Guinness Zero next to each other within a certain section. At the moment, I think having separate sections is really handy because people that know that they don't want to drink alcohol on that occasion know where to look. Whereas if it was kind of all merged, I think you'd be flicking through a lot. So it's a really difficult one to place because I think there's a level of segregation that needs to be there, but too much of it makes it seem like it's kind of like, oh no, these don't belong here. They're not invited to the party. They don't have a seat at the table. So it's a really difficult one to kind of navigate, I think.
So how about from a brewery perspective? So they've got a tap room, and it's like, okay, yeah, we're either brewing our own or we've got a selection of them available. What else do they need to know about welcoming the newer market in, or the changing market? Because you've normally, or in the past, it was beer geeks and nerds who were just like, yeah, we're going to go to the tap room because we want to try the range. Now there's an evolving market. What do they need to be considering with that?
It's a difficult one. Because I just think it's just have it there and have it available and learn about it as you would any other beer. You know, so if anyone asks, "Oh, what's this about?" and let's say it's like a citrusy IPA, because that's the first beer that came to my mind, because that's the only beer that exists, right? Citrusy IPAs. But just know what it is, know what it's about, and find a way to discuss it without saying alcohol free, because chances are people will know it's alcohol free. And if they don't know it's alcohol free, and it's been, labeled, and you can see the 0.5% on the front, as you would expect. Then that's on them. If you open with, "Oh, it's alcohol free," it's like that makes it the most important thing about it, and it's not. It's about the liquid. It's about the beer.
Mm,
It does a disservice to the brewery, I think, when you open with, "Oh, it's alcohol free."
mm,
Like, I've had this worry on my socials where it's a lot of people that follow me because they're sober, because there's a lot of sober people that will, come on board, and then they just see me talking about beer. And I do mention the alcohol-free nature of it often, but when I'm talking about a certain beer, like, more often than not, I won't even mention that it's alcohol-free,
mm.
because it's just like, I'm talking about the liquid here. So I think that's something that is, you know, I miss having real conversations with, like, taproom staff about beers, because you kind of go in and you go to talk about the alcohol free, and it's like, yeah, I don't really. It took ages to make, but I don't really know much more than that. And it's like, oh, okay, that's a shame.
Yeah, I can see the vision that you're kind of painting for when we get there, and we're very much
Hmm.
not there at the moment. It almost sounds like you're saying in order for what I'm picking up is the idea to promote low no is to almost not have to promote it because it is part and parcel. It's just another extension of the offering. Is that right, or have I misinterpreted you?
Yeah, exactly that, exactly that. And I think that happens through just allowing people to try what you've made, and if it's good, if the liquid is good, then and people try it, it will sit with them for longer than if you make a really good ABV beverage, because it's almost for shock. It's like, that was really good. I'll come
Mm.
back for more of that. I'll try that. And if there's another one that comes out, I'll try that because the last one was really good. And it grows from there.
So too much signposting can actually be a bad thing in this case. I know you
I
spoke,
think so, yeah.
the
I
idea
think
of
so.
is it having specific glasses be a 0% in
Yeah,
there.
exactly, exactly. I think so. Context, we were discussing I think it started with a Guinness Zero glass, and how me as a non-drinker, because I can't drink alcohol. The idea of holding, like, a big zero glass in my hand, it's just like, give me a balloon and write alcoholic on it, you know? Like, I don't want that
Mhm.
I don't want that tension unless I'm talking to someone about it, which I'm quite bad for doing because I'm a very open man about all of my issues. But yeah, the 0% glass, I don't know. I can understand why it exists, but coming at it from the side of the fence of someone that can't drink, so just give me a normal Guinness glass.
Mm,
'Cause I'm still drinking Guinness. It's just this doesn't have alcohol in it. This is
mm,
still a pint of Guinness, you know? So yeah.
mm. So I spotted something on LinkedIn. I think it's probably going back towards Christmas time now, but it really stuck in my mind because I thought that's odd. And so maybe you can help me understand it. So it was techniques to get through the Christmas party with everyone thinking that you're drinking, but you're not. Or if you're kind of like, you're entertaining clients and they
Mhm.
want the impression that you're drinking, and it's a guy like, have a chat with the barman beforehand, or if someone buys you a drink, discreetly go around the back. So there are varying mindsets right now beyond obviously someone in your position where you've gone, no, I'm not drinking because of what's happened in the past, versus those who are just entertaining it, like you say, zebra striping. But where do you think that perception of like you got to drink to have a good time has come from, and how long do you think it's going to last?
Oh, I think this is something that has existed forever. Um, like, even you were so context here, I work for a shopping TV channel, and have done for about 12 years, like QVC style stuff. And years ago, I used to work on a jewelry side of things. I promise you, this is going somewhere. Um, we
Bear
used
with
to
me,
sell
folks.
we used to sell amethyst, right? And if you want some, it's only 9.90. No, but we used to sell amethyst, right? And one of the kind of stories that we used to tell, because it was built on stories, back in, like, the Roman days, the Caesars would drink from amethyst goblets to give the impression of drinking wine when they were actually drinking water, because they didn't want the wine. Like, so that kind of like, I mean, they couldn't just have a lovely kind of Beck's Blue. I say lovely, it's terrible, but they couldn't have a mash gang beer, could they?
Mm.
Old Caesars. But that kind of, I need to be giving off the impression that I'm drinking this alcohol because it's what we do, but I don't want it right now. So how can I kind of mask that? Amethyst goblet. The amethyst goblet of the Romans is basically a can of alcohol-free beer poured into a discrete glass in 2025. Like, it got me thinking when you were talking about that then. I was like, "Oh, oh, I know where this is going in my brain."
I love that. And now wait for the alcohol-free titled Amethyst Goblet to be launched by someone. Yeah.
I'd buy it and drink it, or a brewery releasing an amethyst glass. Um, that would be even. Who knows what you've got in there? Could be a 10% beer. No one would know.
It's
Um,
the
yeah,
mystery of it all. I love it. Okay, so did, we talked about there's growth, and growth is coming, and especially even if you compare like the UK market to the European market as well. Like we're quite behind in comparison to the European market, correct?
yeah. Well, I think it's just perception. Like as that grows, I mean, weirdly, Germany is number one for like amount of people that drink alcohol-free beer. Japan is number two, which
Hmm.
shocked me. I've only ever had one beer from Japan, like directly from Japan, and it was Asahi Beery was the name of it, and it was incredible. Like, it was impossible not to call it like beery whilst I was
Hmm.
trying to. Because it just tasted like, like real rough lager. It's almost got that metallic kind of like. Mm. It
Hmm.
was like, yeah, this is just the most beery drink I've ever had in my life. But yeah, Japan. There's a lot of non-alc stuff in Japan, but Europe as a whole, like I think it's kind of been woven into the fabric of their drinking culture now because it's just been so accepted. Like in German beer halls and things, there's always an alcohol-free tap next to the full-out tap, and it's just something that exists and has existed forever. Um, Over here, I think we're catching up. The States are a little bit further behind where we are from what I can see, but similar to us, kind of growing at a similar rate, just maybe 12 months behind
Hmm.
almost. So
Hmm.
we're definitely a little bit behind, but I don't think it's kind of leaps and bounds
Hmm.
behind.
And so, what is it kind of the British drinking culture and put a massive kind of like bunny ears on that? Is that what is kind of keeping us a little bit further behind, or were we just a bit slow off the mark to the adaptation or the adoption of the low no culture? Where do you think the pause has been from?
I think it's our stubbornness and our kind of I don't want to say xenophobia because that's the wrong word, but as soon as we see something that, as a whole, as soon as we see something that kind of challenges what we see as British values, we kind of get a bit defensive and a little bit scared of that as an island nation.
Mm.
So alcohol-free beer, it's here. It's not just here for you know designated drivers. It's here to take away the tradition of the lunchtime pint. You know, it's here to tell me that I can't drink alcohol, and that's quite scary.
Mm.
And I can see that. I can understand why people, it's the last thing that, like, how many things have we been told we can't do because they're bad for us? Like turkey twizzlers, Jamie Oliver took those from me. Cigarettes, my want to live with healthy lungs has taken those from me. Alcohol, my alcoholism has taken that from me. Like, what else are we going to lose that is lovely? So I can kind of see that, but actually, with the lunchtime pint, because that's something that doesn't really happen anymore, and it's kind of something that people look back on and with real fondness and real love. Actually, alcohol-free beer enables the lunchtime pint to be a
Mm.
thing again. But then when Sainsbury's put alcohol-free beer into a meal deal recently, everyone was livid. Like, there was outrage. And that I didn't understand that, because the same people that were angry about that would have been the people that were, oh, in my day, we went for a couple of pints at lunchtime and it was great. The gaff
Mm,
would let us go for a couple of pints, and it's like, well, why can't I have a couple of cans of Lucky Saint on my lunch then? That's I think it's that. I think it is just our stubbornness,
mhm,
and I think that is something that needs to kind of be cracked. And brands like Guinness are really important for that, because a lot of people, if Guinness say, "Oh no, this is okay, like it's alcohol free, but it's okay. Don't worry, we've done it." I'll go, "Okay, I trust you, Guinness. You'd never hurt us, Guinness." So brands like that, and Saint Austell with Proper Job, I think
mhm.
that falls into the same category as Guinness, and I think it's just as important as Guinness, because people are more willing to try that because they trust it, and the liquid was really good.
And so I wonder, in your opinion, where does the responsibility sit? Because it's a hard job, like, to convince someone to take that leap of faith. And you mentioned the big boys, the Guinness and St. Austell, but you've got the smaller indies out there going, we know it's the right thing to do, but my God, this is going to be a slog to try and educate, but don't push it too much because it seems to be natural. Like, it's really murky waters. So who's
Yeah,
holding the hand?
I think it's just kind of, how would you release a normal beer? Release this in exactly the same way. Even if it's a limited, like, start with a limited edition batch if it's something that is kind of, because I understand it's so easy for me as a non-drinker to say, yeah, put loads of resources into this, but it's like, no, 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 don't do that, because if breweries go under, like, we can't have non-alc beer at all,
Mm,
so. But I'd say release it in exactly the same way that you would release a normal beer, and trust that there are enough fans of your brand that like beer as a whole that they will buy it because they see value in the liquid, not just in the alcohol. There are always going to be some people that won't do it, or release it as part of a set. If you've got like a full alc beer, release a non-alc version of it. Release them together at the same
mm,
time, and let people buy them both together. Only sell them together. If you want this beer, you've got to get this one as well. Some people will moan, but that's up to them. That's their fault. Don't get the
mm,
beer if you don't want it. That's the deal, man. Um, but no, I think trial doing it like that. Release it as you'd release any beer, and just have the confidence that people know what alcohol-free beer is now. People have had time to sample alcohol-free beer and to establish that it's not all terrible. And if people still think it's terrible, they're not your people. You
mm,
know, people that will kind of put the same light on alcohol-free beer and just say it's all awful are people that don't really like beer. They're people that like alcohol,
mm.
because again, some of it is awful. Some of it really isn't. So that's what I'd say, is just try it like that and have confidence in the people that are buying this stuff.
Mm. I love the idea of the packaging, the non-alcohol with the alcohol one, because again, it comes back to that experiential side of things. You can see people getting around doing the blind tastes. It's like, could you work out which one do you prefer most? And
Yeah, can you guess which is which? I
yeah.
mean, Cloudwater did this really well with their 10-year anniversary beer, when they released a series of beers and one of them was alcohol free. Alcohol free. People wanted the set, so people bought the alcohol free beer, and through that, I mean, that beer was phenomenal. Like, obviously, I only bought the alcohol free beer, but it was great. It was great, and I failed to see how people drinking that whole range couldn't go, "Was that the alcohol free?" God, it was. That was
Mm.
good. You're waiting for it, thinking, "Oh, it's not going to be very good." My God, it is. How's that alcohol? Try this.
Yeah, yeah.
That conversation.
Catched you by surprise when you didn't realize you picked up the alcohol-free one, kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, exactly that.
And so, would you say, is it a safer time for breweries to bring out that alcohol-free beer because the market is there and receptive, or have they missed the boat a little bit? Are they
I
now
don't
playing
think we've
catch up?
missed the boat. I don't think we've missed the boat. I think January is getting more and more like busy, and it's becoming more and more of an issue for me. January, because I've still got a couple of beers from January this year in my fridge that I haven't got to, and I do a different beer every day, more
Mhm.
or less, and we're still working our way through January. So There are some breweries that I've kind of met, and they said, "Oh yeah, we've got this beer. We released it in January, but it got lost a little bit." And it's like, even I hadn't heard of this. Even I didn't know that this was a thing. And that's not me saying, "Oh, even I because I'm important." No, even I because I'm a loser that does nothing else. Um, so if I haven't spotted it, I can guarantee a lot of other people haven't spotted it. So I think make it kind of an all year occasion. Like it's
Mm.
great to have a dry January beer and to cash in on that a little bit. Um, but actually, dry January can be the time that you celebrate the beer that you've been developing for 12 months. Because chances are you will put a beer out and you'll go, "Oh, we could have done this to that. We
Mm.
could have changed this a little bit." Or like the carbonation isn't quite right, or something goes wrong because it often does. It's not we just throw one out and it's perfect. It's still new territory.
Mm.
So I think it's still a good time. I think it's definitely still a good time.
And it's interesting to talk about dry January, and I've had Jordan from Mashgang talk about it, where he thinks like dry January is a terrible thing in many ways because everyone has just been so gluttonous over December to try and then pull the rug out from underneath a lot
Yeah,
of people. Like, what's your
and
take on that?
dry January, I think it's great for awareness, and it's a great incentive. I think the thing that it's kind of dry January can be really dangerous to people that are really, really in the shackles of addiction. Because if you are drinking a certain amount of alcohol and then you completely stop, you could die. Like withdrawals can kill. Seizures, strokes, all of that business. So that is something that's like, okay, encouraging people just to go, nope, never again. Like from there, that's really dangerous. So that is like, I mean, that's for a doctor to tell people, not me. Um, but I like the idea of it. I like the because it's the dry January challenge. I like the challenge aspect of it, of being like, you regular drinker, not necessarily alcoholic, but regular drinker, do you think you could go a month without alcohol? In a safe way with people that wouldn't class themselves as addicts at all. I think that's when it's kind of magic. Is do you think that you could go a month without to like a standard drinker?
Mm.
And then what does that entail and what does that look like? That's what I am interested in. And that's what I think they've done really well. Um, and then we have the other ones like Sober Spring, Sober October, and it's like, okay, let's just stick with January. Like, I mean, it's still a great incentive. I mean, it's an incentive by alcohol change for the charity, and they do really important stuff. So I think it's good for awareness for the charity because they're a really good organisation for people that have issues with alcohol. So yeah, in short, I think on paper it's a good idea, but potentially quite dangerous for full blown alcoholics to try.
Mm. Okay, let's pull up into a more positive mindset as we bring this conversation to a close, Ben. It's been a really interesting chat because I never thought the conversation would be the best way to market low and no would be to not market it in many ways.
Yeah.
But if if you had to give a parting piece of wisdom to brewers who've gone, yeah, we've got a loner, or we've got a couple in the fridge, but it's not flying, or we're not getting the traction from it. Where else do they need to be looking? What would you recommend to them to help increase awareness?
I think there's a lot of avenues you could go down. I think like sports venues are places that can really be targeted, like local sports teams get involved with stuff like that. Um, your beer can become a part of X event, like Lucky Saint did with running, things like that. Um, I feel like a lot of these beers that they kind of have released, but they're not doing very well. It's like, okay, well, have you really championed them? Have you gone into the process of how it's made, demystify it, make people feel like they can trust it, and they know that it is a real beer? And everything that you do, just have that in mind that this is still a beer. This is a real beer, and in time, people start to trust that and people start to understand it. And if the liquid's good, and be honest with yourself about it, is it good or will it just do? Because there's so many good beers now that just making something that's passable isn't good enough anymore. Because there's so many amazing beers, And if it's not good enough, well, like, why isn't it? And work on it from there. And maybe it's not for you, and that's okay if it's not, because it's a nightmare to make sometimes. So it's kind of be honest with yourself on that aspect. If it's not for you, then that's fine. But if it is, what can we do to improve this, and how can we make this the best it is?
Mm. I really like that comment you mentioned about, getting in with sports teams or something, and it comes back to that the power of association. Like you talked about, Guinness did it. Guinness is a safe bet because there's so much kind of brand loyalty built up in the brand.
Hmm.
The same with St. Austell's. You can do the same thing and it not have to be a brewery. You have to find the favorite sports team, or the personality who kind of connects with, it's trustworthy, and you can almost use them as a bit of a introduction and to introduce the beer in, couldn't you?
Yeah,
Fascinating.
yeah, I really like that as a concept, and also in sports venues as well. You've got away fans there, which some of those, how are they getting home? You know,
Mhm.
so if you've got a good option there, I think that's magic.
Ben, I've clocked the time. We've been rattling on for over 45 minutes. This has been
Oh my
amazing,
goodness,
mate.
we have.
Um, so if people want to have a chat, want to know a little bit more, or indeed just get your spin on what are some of the best low-no beers out there, where can they find you? Where can they get in touch?
So the best place to contact me is Instagram, just Sober Boozers Club. I have a TikTok, but I'm really not good at TikTok. Like I'm still loading videos on TikTok. I've got my Christmas tree in the background. Just trying to play catch up. So yeah, Instagram is the place to get me. For anything to talk about alcohol-free beer, or like if you're wanting to cut down or whatever, but mostly beer because that's what we like, isn't it?
Indeed. Well, Ben, mate, again, thank you so much for your time today. This has been brilliant. I've loved it.
Thank you for having me, sir.
No, it's been an absolute delight. And for everyone else watching and listening now, God bless you. And for those who are going to be tuning in at some other point in their lives, again, you're all amazing. You all rock. Have a great day, people. Rock on.